Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Head Coach Ross of the Attacks Gym Street Warrior in Gio Uhuru. Capoeira. You already know what it is. I'm just looking around, just letting you know I'm checking the background and stuff around me as I'm walking. That's why I'm looking behind me as I'm talking to you. All right. But yeah, the reason why I'm making this video right now is because I just now, literally just maybe 20-30 seconds ago, received a 30-second email on this topic what I'm about to address. 32 emails in a row. You know I'm on the street, so it goes down like this. That's what Street Warriors should be on the streets, right? So 32 emails on the same topic. All right, this topic is dealing with the distinction between self-defense practices and why so much was lost and why so much was never even passed on to people who claim to practice the art of Capoeira, which is really Capoeira, and what's the distinction between the Angoleros and the more modern practitioners, and the kind of distinction you see these people talk about all the time. Well, here's the real situation. Here's the real truth. I'm going to break down a couple of things, much of which I've already said in my previous videos, especially the ones dealing with the legitimacy of Nji Uhuru Capoeira with my uncle, my teacher, lead instructor, senior lead instructor, Uncle Bobby, my Uncle Bobby. So check that out. It's up right now. But what I'm going to address right now is the distinction between the skills that you know of and why you learn things the way you did. The history you know is fake and everything. Why is that the case? Well, here's the reason. Because most of what you know comes from the documents of the enemies of the art. These are people who are trying to destroy the warriors of Capoeira. All right, these people who went to war with us, those who wanted to enslave us, and in fact did enslave a good portion of us. Okay, so of course their entire perspective, their whole approach, their documentation, everything will be slanted in their favor, and it will have their particular inclinations put on it, their misunderstandings as well, complete with their miscomprehensions of words and terms and stuff like that. Okay, now specifically regarding the cities of Brazil and the art, I want you to understand this. Everything you know about the art and the practitioners in the cities come from people who are not skilled enough to escape. These people are less talented, less capable than the real warriors, the Capoeira warriors, from which my lineage comes from. What's up, yo? All right, so this is something you really need to understand. It's very, very critical, and explains, again, the significant difference between what it is that I'm teaching you and what they're teaching you. Why, when I show you the acrobatics we do, is immediately applicable to combat as well as to health and spirituality, and I show you the step-by-step applications and how it's connected to the spirituality and where the science and the history is, whereas nobody else can teach you that. Nobody from the cities can. The reason why is because the people in the cities who practice the art were people who are less skilled. They had to be the people who are less skilled, because the ones who are more skilled, what did they do? They escaped. They beat down everybody and they escaped the cities and went and formed quilombos. Okay? They acknowledge this. The Brazilians acknowledge this, and everyone else acknowledges the Dutch, the Irish, the Germans, and their history in their contacts with the warriors of Capoeira from the Congo all the way to Brazil and the United States and all of the Americas. Yes, the art is all through the Americas. All the stuff, Laja and all the other good stuff, Mani, the Grimistas of Colombia, all that is part of the same art, which is Capoeira, and its hybrid expressions here in the United States. Another discussion, though, for another video. What I want you to understand, I really want you to focus on, is this. The entire lineage and history going back to Pastina, going back to Bimba, going back to Bisuro, going back to everybody who stayed in the cities, is the history of the people who are less capable. This sounds astounding to you, huh? But it makes perfect sense when you think about it, because who were more the people, again, the same people who we're talking about, who recorded Bisuro and everyone else, also recorded their wars with the Quilombos. The Quilombo warriors were significantly better. They had to be. They were constantly facing armed invasion. And they've maintained their independence all the way up to this century, 21st century. There's still quite a few of them who are free and who have never ever fallen prey to the enslaving armies of the enemies. Period. It's just really that simple. And when you put it together in that way, it changes drastically the perspective that you have regarding the entire lineage of what you're being told is the practice of the art in the cities, because much of what you're told about the cities isn't true either. Oh yeah, a lot of that isn't true. Like, I'll give you one thing that they won't tell you. You've heard about this constant, issue between so-called Capoeira, and Jiu-Jitsu, okay? what they won't tell you is that for the longest time, even while they were trying to destroy us, these same Brazilians were projecting to other countries that so-called Capoeira, is the national fight of Brazil. And it was the #1 fight in the entire country until Jiu-Jitsu rose to usurp its position. But Jiu-Jitsu didn't rise to usurp its position through actual feats of combat. It rose to usurp the position of so-called Capoeira through the combination of the racism of the country, and of course the fact that the Gracies were rich. They're European cats from Scotland who came to Brazil, and they made a number of contacts within the elite of Brazil who controlled the media. And it's through the media that they presented the idea that they are the superior fighting system, but they never were. Not just with Capoeira either. I mean, they never were, period. There's a lot of people who were there in Brazil who were not part of the Gracie lineage, but who were significantly better than them. All right, but that's another discussion, because there's no disrespect to the Gracies. A lot of those cats, they did a great job as far as skills are concerned. You know, other issues are way more questionable. Political, social, racist, way different. But as far as the combat skills, you must recognize and give props to that, because they did the work. You know, and I'm not a hater. If you got skills, I recognize that. That's all there is to it. But one thing they won't tell you about, but which is true, is this. The first champion of the Gracie family was an older brother named George. Joao, I think they say in Brazil. No, that's John in Brazil. I forget what they say in Brazil. But George is what I read it as. All right? And there's this article called 100 Years of Arm Bars, which talks about this to a little too smaller degree, but it doesn't get into it. Because what they don't tell you is that George used to hang with the brothers who were capoeiristas in the cities, and they were dangerous brothers. These guys were very, very talented, even though they weren't the best. They were very, very talented because their existence was illegal. So at any and every point of the day, they could be subjected to assassination attempts from the law and from their enemies. So they had to be constantly skilled and constantly alert, constantly capable. Well, they taught George much about weapons, defenses, and weapons applications and multi-fights, because he had no idea about that. Why is that? Because Gracie Jiu-Jitsu comes from the old school Jigoro Kano Judo, which was self-defense, which had a lot of strikes in it, which a lot of people don't know over here. They don't know that old school Judo had every single strike in karate, which they called a temewaza, because Jigoro Kano was friends with Masoyama and other incredible legends in karate. But Masoyama is the god hand. So, but that's a different story. Why does that impact here on our conversation about so-called capoeira? It's this. It's because these Capoeira warriors are also highly talented grapplers, but they grappled for self-defense. They did not grapple for competition. The so-called Capoeira people who entered competitions were by far the weakest and least capable of the entire art. Why? Because the better people were criminals. You could not engage in a sport event monitored by the police if you were a criminal. How many mafia hitmen went to participate in sport shooting practices? Come on, man. Think that through. Just let a little bit of what I just said you marinate, okay? And if you have any more questions or comments, please shoot them to me. By the way, let me say this real quick. Don't let the bandana get to you, all right? Most of you, it's not bothering you, but the few of you who periodically make comments about it, I'm wearing the bandana because I feel like it. I'm not a gang member, never was. I'm pursuing my PhD in African Studies and well-educated, but it doesn't matter. What does matter is that if I was white and wearing this, nobody would even bring this up. They think, oh, he's just a cool guy wearing a bandana. So if you're thinking this, well, wait a minute, he might be gang-oriented, it's probably because you've been consciously or subconsciously manipulated through the same propaganda that was used to lie about the capoeiristas into thinking that because a black man's wearing a bandana, he's a gang member. Think that through, all right? Tax Jim, Street Warrior, and Gio Uhuru, Capoeira, Head Coach Ross, all right? Asante Sana, Ashe, take care of yourself. Hit a like on this, spread the video. I'm out.